Monday, May 5th, 2014. I'll now call the meeting of the Logansport Common Council to order. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Council. Roll call, please.
Jeremy Ashcraft.
Here.
Bob Bishop.
Here.
Joe Buck.
Here.
Gary Fox.
Here.
Charlie Hastings.
Here.
Chuck Liddell.
Here.
Teresa Popejoy. Present.
Approval of minutes from the April 24th, from the April 7th regular meeting of the City Council.
Your Honor, I make a motion that the minutes from April 7th be approved as presented.
Second. Your Honor.
Yes.
I just wanted to note, just to make sure, that the minutes do reflect the amendment. Is that's correct, isn't it, in the minutes?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, I just want to make sure that matches with our minutes.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second on approval of minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote.
Teresa Popejoy.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell.
Yes.
Charlie Hastings.
Yes.
Gary Fox.
Yes.
Joe Buck.
Yes.
Bob Bishop.
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft.
Yes.
Minutes are approved on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Under comments of the mayor, I have two for tonight. Council, as you are quite aware, we have the Logansport High School girls basketball team. Let me get to this. We have the Logansport High School girls basketball team here for recognition tonight. Many of them, because of their dedication, have another commitment. They need to be off to practice and some of the other things that they have going on. I would ask that we move that to the beginning, even right after reports from committees, boards, and commissions. I'll ask for that when we get to that point. And then also under comments of the mayor, I wanted to advise you, as well as anybody else that's here, including the media, that we have scheduled a public comment meeting scheduled for May 15th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. and lasting till 9 o'clock. It was reported that it was 7. That was the original intent. We added in an extra half hour. So it's 6:30 to 9. It's going to be held at McHale Auditorium, and the doors will open at 6 o'clock. They will close promptly at 9. One other thing, under approval of minutes, there was an executive session of the Logansport City Council. It was a joint executive session with the Logansport Utilities Department. Our legal counsel advises us that we were to note that the meeting did take place and that the meeting was called to order by Council President Joe Buck. The utilities portion of the meeting was called to order by Utility Service Board Vice President Marty Monahan, and we did log attendance. That record is a part of the minutes, and I would ask that we go back and approve those as well as a formality.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we approve the executive session minutes as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to approve the minutes of the executive session meeting that was taking place on April 24th, 2014. Call for the vote.
Gary Fox.
Yes.
Charlie Hastings.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell.
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy.
Yes.
Joe Buck.
Yes.
Bob Bishop.
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft.
Yes.
Minutes of the of the executive session that was held on April 24th have been approved on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Are there any petitions or comments of citizens?
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Brew. I'm a citizen of the city of Logansport, and I come before you this evening to continue my interest in making comment and sharing my research with the council concerning its continued involvement and the mayor's involvement in the question of electricity generation in the city's future with regard to making electricity, for sure purchasing electricity. At your last meeting, your minutes reflect that I addressed you about one of the two reasons for your new ordinance authorizing the mayor to negotiate with possible vendors, and that passed by a vote of 4-3. When I was last here, I pointed out that one of the bases for giving the mayor continued authority to deal with Pyrolyzer was the fact that Pyrolyzer, come to find out, did not have the capital to accomplish the project which had been awarded to them with having that capital as a precondition. I don't need to repeat that point, but I want to say this evening with regard to the two reasons that you four, Mr. Fox, Buck, Hastings, and Bishop, gave to the public specifically for extending the mayor's authority had to do with the inability of Pyrolyzer and the mayor to reach agreement on, quote, the form of required system interconnection agreements with MISO. This, of course, has to do with the stated plan of the project. With Pyrolyzer being so big, it was not only enough power to be generated by burning the RFDs to supply local needs in the LMU area, but beyond that to sell electricity wholesale on the grid. Well, I've been in this room before, and I specifically have asked for proof based upon my suspicion that in fact neither the city nor Pyrolyzer nor any related entity ever took step number one in that regard of making application to MISO. No documentation or answer ever was given to me, so I took the citizens' right under the Freedom of Information Public Document Disclosure request and specifically asked the mayor for proof that the city or Pyrolyzer or any related entity had ever taken step number one or had any examination of its efforts to become a member of MISO, prove it. At the same time, I made a request to the clerk treasurer for all documents related to the $1.25 million of money out of CEDAT that have been used for so-called development projects. I was given 1,200 pages, and those pages were in no order whatsoever. They were inside out, upside down, partial documents, incomplete documents. But I took a little over 11 hours and 15 minutes, and I have sorted them out. And the answer to proof of the city's application or any involvement with MISO is zero. No single document whatsoever has been handed over or produced to prove Pyrolyzer or the city's application to MISO. And insofar as that appears to me to be the documentary situation, I think your ordinance that the four of you passed in that regard is misleading to say that somehow the path, to imply that the path to being connected to MISO was started but not completed. That's the public record at this point. Beyond that, insofar as the city last Friday presumes to come up with a power purchase agreement that people are starting to read, I think it's important to note in the same category of electricity generation that the industry definition does not apply to what you've written. I know you're paying plenty of money to lawyers. I've seen those documents. But the standard definition of a power purchase agreement is a long-term agreement to buy power from a company that produces electricity. This phantom, secret French company does not produce electricity. So that's going to be hard to hold up as an ordinance as though that's a binding long-term contract. It's important also, reaching back to last month's meeting with regard to Pyrolyzer not having the capital to do its project. There's no money on the table from the documents that have been published so far. You got to have capital. That was in your original request for proposals. It's not supposed to be a search for investments. It's supposed to be a project to build generation capacity. Second, a legal flaw in what I have read in your proposed PPA, that's the abbreviation we're going to be using, is there's a presumption that there's a fixed rate and a fixed escalator based upon the consumer price index. I predict that that will fail as a matter of law. I'm a lawyer, so I'm entitled to have opinions. The idea is that Indiana statutes give Indiana citizens a right to review and object to every single rate increase that that citizen experiences. And I say to you that you cannot write an ordinance that cancels the citizen's right to review and object each time rates are increased. I want to share with you and ask that you, as council people, make the mayor do an accounting. You pass the ordinances and the resolutions authorizing the expenditure of $1.25 million in the year 13 for so-called development purposes. My review of the 1,200 pages of documents, piecing them together like a puzzle, to put it in simple terms, boils down to this, and this is the occasion for review. There are 6 checks to Gary Peterson's consulting firm in the year 13, based upon a single-page invoice. It adds up to $1,225,102. I've got the dates, I've got the dollar amounts, and I've got the proof that the checks were written. There's a statute that the clerk is not obeying. She's been faulted on this before by the Board of Accounts. But I want to draw your specific attention to these 6 checks that total the $1.225 million. The law requires the clerk. It says, quote, she may not draw warrant or check for payment of a claim unless, 1, there is a fully itemized invoice or bill for the claim. And I will be producing these 6 checks and the 6 single-page claims. There is no fully itemized invoice, and you just spent $1.225 million. And it needs to be accounted for because there is no itemization. Now this is a little bit humorous, although it's a very serious subject. But when it came to the extra check that the city wrote for a few of you to go to Germany, Mr. Fox, Mr. Buck, others of you. No, Mr. Buck didn't go to Germany. I apologize. I don't recall which of you went to Germany. The point is, when it came to Gary Peterson itemizing why he wanted an additional $20,250 for you guys, a number of you, to go to Germany, there's many, many pages of detail, and that's the way it should be. But when it comes to the $1.225 million, there's not any detail. There's a run-on sentence with not a single itemization, a single breakdown of any expense. The largest check being $517,000. And I can tell you what the other 5 were for, but I don't need to take up your time right now. I'll be writing about this. This is serious financial business. The clerk has a duty. She just signed off, and there was no fully itemized invoice. And beyond that, LMU did the same thing. LMU spent $250,000, at least it was only $250,000, to Gary Peterson's consulting firm based upon single-page invoice, certainly no fully itemized invoice. And besides that, there are tens of thousands of dollars in the same year, 13. Here'd be a great quiz show question. How much money in the year 13 was paid total to Gary Peterson's consulting firm? I'm saying it's enough, and don't be distracted by the interesting larger question. I'm talking about 6 checks that lack itemization, and the citizens of Logansport deserve an explanation for $1,225,102, and this is part of my continuing interest in this electricity question and spending money on people like Peterson, and now launching off in dealing with an unknown French phantom investor. This is serious business, and I hope we continue to discuss these matters.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any other public comment?
Thanks, Jim.
All right, hearing none. Are there any reports from committees, boards, or commissions? Councilman Bishop.
Your Honor, the Parks Committee met April 23rd to discuss Resolution 2014-18 that's on our agenda for tonight.
Thank you. Are there any more reports from committees, boards, or commissions? All right, hearing none. Can I get a motion to move Resolution 2014-19 to the top of business?
Your Honor, I make a motion to move Resolution 2014-19 to the top of our old business agenda for this evening.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Jeremy Ashcraft.
Yes.
Bob Bishop.
Yes.
Joe Buck.
Yes.
Gary Fox.
Yes.
Charlie Hastings.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell.
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy.
Yes.
It's approved on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Resolution 2014-19. Councilman Liddell, please.
Resolution 2014-19, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, honoring the Logansport High School girls basketball team, coaches, and administration. Whereas the 2014 Logansport High School girls basketball team are an outstanding group of young lady athletes, and whereas the Lady Berries finished this year with an overall season record of 24-3, and whereas the Lady Berries successfully completed their 3rd consecutive undefeated season in the North Central Conference with a record of 6-0, and whereas the Logansport High School girls basketball team were the sectional champion 2 years in a row, and whereas this season the Lady Berries were the regional champions for the first time in LHS school history, and whereas the Lady Berries went on to compete in the semi-state competition held at Crown Point against Penn High School, and whereas this school year members of the team traveled to Jinhua, China as a part of a cultural economic exchange program representing Logansport High School, the City of Logansport, and the state of Indiana. And whereas this was the very first group of Indiana high school basketball players allowed by the IHSA to travel abroad during IHSA basketball season. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana hereby takes this official action to honor and congratulate the Logansport High School girls basketball team players.
Chuck, may I interrupt?
Absolutely.
As you call the girls' names, if they would, please come forward and meet over here to the right of Councilman Liddell, and we have Council President Joe Buck and Councilperson Teresa Popejoy that are here to greet you on behalf of the city. Thank you, Chuck.
Our girls basketball team players include Carly Armstrong,
Yay, Carly.
Brittany Bandy, Grace Boyd, Sydney Bullard, Cheyenne Camp, Carly Carrier, Catherine Clothier, Kennedy Curl, Maddie Dalton, Carly Deerdorf, Maria Diaz, Claudia Garcia, Whitney Jennings, Samantha Kane, Alex Kessler, Jennifer Craigbaum, Emma Marsal, Devin Nackey, Kristen Neal, Monica Ness, Katrina Neuendorf, Mallory Neuendorf, Chastity Overman, Nakia Penny, Kyla Pine, Riley Ryan, Deanna Shepard, Alexis Spencer, Kristen Steele, Maddie Titus, Hattie Winter, freshman coach Lindley Whitcraft, assistant coaches Dick Farr, Doug Jennings, and Kevin Bullard, the head coach Mr. Jerry Hoover, and our athletic director, Mr. Greg Fisher. Let this be passed and resolved by the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana on this 5th day of May 2014, the Common Council of the City of Logansport. Congratulations, ladies and Coach Hoover. Now go to practice.
Can I have that in the form of a motion? So moved. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to adopt Resolution 2014-19. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on Resolution 2014-19.
Jimmy Ashcraft?
Yes.
Bob Bishop?
Yes.
Joe Buck?
Yes.
Gary Fox?
Yes.
Charlie Hastings?
Yes.
Chuck Liddell?
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy?
Yes.
Resolution 2014-19 passes on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Under old business, ordinance 2014-11. Councilman Bishop, please.
Ordinance 2014-11, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending ordinance 2008-10 regarding abandoned vehicles. Your Honor, I call for a vote on ordinance 2014-11.
Second.
Ordinance 2014-11 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilman Bishop.
Couple things. One thing, I think I'll skip the vehicles refers to, there's a list here, this is on the second page, K, mopeds, utility trailers. I'm concerned about the utility trailer, but as long as these are parked on a driveway, they're okay? Is that correct?
One per resident. I guess that's what's being worked on.
Okay, the other thing I have a problem with here that I think we need to discuss is on the third page on C3, we have that the vehicle will be removed after 72 hours, and that's after they've been given notice. I think we could have a problem with somebody being away on vacation, 72 hours, they come home from vacation and their car would be gone. I don't think what we're addressing here seems to be cars that have been left for maybe years. So I don't see why we're cutting that down to 72 hours. I'd like to make that, at least maybe a couple weeks. And also, I'd like to make a motion to, I'd like to insert there on 3 that the vehicle will be removed after the owner is somehow, we need to figure out how we can certify or know that the owner has been notified before we start the clock.
Councilman Bishop, may I interrupt?
Go ahead.
I'm going to defer to Council SEL for this, to give an explanation on number 3, 1, 2, and 3, actually.
Okay.
Right here on page 3 at the top of the page in section C, which is where you're talking about, Councilman
Yes.
Bishop. It looks to me like subsections 1 through 4 there say what the information the tag has to include.
Right.
An officer will tag a window and it has to have these things on it, and in the tag it says the vehicle will be removed after 72 hours there in number 3. After
he tags it.
Right. Number 5, though, says once the vehicle is tagged after 72 hours, it can be towed, which means it doesn't have to be towed. There would be discretion involved, which is the way that the ordinance is written. So it doesn't mandate towing at 72 hours, but it could happen. I mean, it certainly could. It doesn't prohibit it by any stretch.
Well, what can
And
we
I wanted
do
to make that, I just wanted to make that
to
clear.
assure that the people are notified and they're not just on vacation? And there's another problem I think we may have with we have an exemption in here for military and college kids. How does the code enforcement know that car is a college kid or a military?
Right, now, those are all policy decisions that the council has to make.
Right. So I just have a problem with those two things, and then of course I guess our amendments straightened out that Chuck had.
Right.
So is there any way we can be assured that the people are notified before their car's towed away?
I think, Bob, I think that if the Logansport Police Department does their due diligence, and if it comes to a case where they are looking to tow, I know that they do their job with, accuracy, and they check and double check. So I'm sure that they're not going to, you know, tow, if they go and tow it away, I would assume, and I saw Chief Clark in the back of the room, he might address this, that they would, you know, make every attempt that they could, you know, knock on a neighbor, hey, do you know where they're at? And hopefully that would, you know, common sense, I feel, would prevail there so that we don't have to over-legislate it. That's my opinion.
Well, I think that's, I think, and we are over-legislating it, you know, personally here. So, is there, once again, is there any way that we can be sure that the people are notified and somebody doesn't get a vehicle towed away unjustly? Any ideas? What do you guys think?
Do we want to table it till we can come up with some common ground?
With all due respect to council, we've been trying to come up with the language on this for close to 2 years now, if not longer. And the last count I heard was about 150 vehicles that have been categorized as abandoned. They've been there for months.
I took a drive through my ward twice the last couple weeks, through the whole ward, and I couldn't find but maybe a couple vehicles in my entire ward. And now maybe my ward's different than others, but and really one of them I don't think was even a problem. So you know, if you say there's how many?
The last report I received was 150. And Chris may be better able to speak to this than me.
Are those vehicles, have they been there for a long period of time?
I believe so. They're either no license plate, considered abandoned, weeds growing up around them. Right now, we effectively can't.
So why do we need to tie 72 hours to it then? Would it matter if it said 2 weeks or a month? Would that change anything?
You're certainly entitled to make a motion. If you get a second and it passes, we'll live with it. Give us something.
Okay, all right. I'll make a motion to change C3, page 3. I'll make a motion to change that the vehicle would be removed after 14 days.
You also make that motion for C5?
And same thing on 5, yes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded to amend Section C, Section 3C of Ordinance 2014-11 to reflect C3 and C5 to reflect a change that would call for removal of the vehicle after 14 days, not 72 hours. It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Community Development Director Armstrong.
Brandy.
Please state your name.
Oh, Chris Armstrong, Community Development Director. We can't make it less stringent than what the state says, can we? I thought you could make it more stringent but not less.
We cannot overturn state law.
So if state says it's 72 hours, can you change it to 14 days?
If the state said it had to be 72 hours and no other time, then no. I think in this case, we would be allowed to be less stringent than the state.
Okay.
We couldn't necessarily go less than 72 maybe, but...
I did, when we were going over this ordinance, I went over that statute, but I don't have it with me. If the state statute says you've got to tow a car at 72 hours, not 71 and not 73, which it doesn't, I mean, it's not that specific, then we couldn't say, no, we're not going to do what the state says to do. But I don't think that the state statute compels us to tow it at 72. I think that the council can have discretion there. When we had those discussions, Community Development Director Armstrong, I was wondering if 72 hours was too short. And the state statute allowed for tows at 72 hours, which convinced me that that's not too short under the law, but I don't think it's mandatory that it has to be at 72.
State your name, please.
Mike Clark, Police Chief, Logansport Police Department. Councilman Bishop brought up the instance of someone being on vacation. That, to me, did not fall into this. It used to be an inoperable vehicle. If somebody's gone for a week on vacation, their car's parking in their driveway, that, to me, by this ordinance, is not an inoperable vehicle. Am I correct in that assumption?
I'm even saying if it's inoperable, they need a chance to get back from vacation and take care of it before we tow it off. Even if
Okay, I
it's,
misunderstood. I thought you meant if someone was out of town on a week.
yeah, I'm
for a
saying
week.
even if we got that old piece of junk that's back in the corner there, that's weeds growing around it, but if they happen, I'm just concerned that they're gone when we tag it, and then we tow it off, and they haven't had a chance to take care of it themselves.
Okay.
So I just want to give them, and I don't think that that car that's back there with the weeds growing on, I don't see how 14 days is going to hurt
Okay.
anything about that. So
Well, the way that
we
you-
can still get it taken care of, but just give them 14 days to make sure that,
Okay.
or if we could certify somehow that they've got the notice, I'd be fine with that. I just want to make sure that we're not towing somebody's vehicle away while they're gone.
I think
Okay.
14 days is entirely too long if you're the person that's having to deal with the abandoned vehicle. You know, it's not fair that somebody can come along, have car trouble, leave their car in front of my house. for
That's
2
different.
weeks,
That's public property.
Or, 14 days is too long, period, the end. If it has come to the point that the vehicle's abandoned, that we have the city and the police department involved, 72 hours is plenty.
So you don't care that they're away, they just happen to be away that day that the...
I would guess
they
that
get
if you
tagged?
have a vehicle that falls under the definitions for this, it's not a matter of whether or not they're on vacation.
But that wasn't law till now.
If you
This
have a
is a new-
vehicle that it has come to a point where the city and the police department are involved in the health and safety of the community and what's to be done with the vehicle, I'm sorry, but 14 days is entirely too long, and I have nothing but confidence in Mike Clark and his department that they will do their due diligence to get done what needs done, and the ordinance says maybe, it doesn't say that it will be. And I would like to think that they would not tow a vehicle if they knew that somebody was out of town and didn't have a chance to do something about
And
it.
how do they know that?
Well, I guess they would probably knock on a door or two. But if you have a vehicle that has come to this point where you have these two community entities involved, something needs to be done besides letting it sit there for another 2 weeks.
It's been there a lot longer than 2 weeks if it's a problem.
And that's probably part of the problem. That's probably the reason why somebody has either called Chris or called Mike.
I don't see how 2 weeks is going to hurt anything.
Call for vote.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion?
Thank you.
Call for a vote on the amendment.
Gary Fox,
No.
Charlie Hastings.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell,
No.
Teresa Popejoy,
No.
Joe Buck,
Yes.
Bob Bishop,
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft,
No.
The amendment fails on a vote of 3 in favor and 4 opposed.
Okay, you guys got to pay the tow bill now.
Now, ordinance 2014-11, is there any more discussion on 1411? Right, hearing none, we'll call for a vote on ordinance 1411 in its entirety.
Jeremy Ashcraft,
Yes.
Bob Bishop,
No.
Joe Buck,
No.
Gary Fox,
Yes.
Charlie Hastings.
No.
Chuck Liddell,
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy,
Yes.
Ordinance 2014-11 passes on a vote of 4 in favor, 3 opposed. Resolution 2014-12. Councilman Hastings, please.
Ordinance 2004-12, vacation of alley, 1828 Clifton Avenue, Terry and Helen Kabat. Your Honor, call for a second vote on ordinance 2014-12.
Second.
Ordinance 2014-12 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on ordinance 2014-12.
Jeremy Ashcraft,
Yes.
Bob Bishop,
Yes.
Joe Buck,
Yes.
Gary Fox,
Yes.
Charlie Hastings.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell,
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy,
Yes.
Ordinance 2014-12 passes on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Under new business, Resolution 2014-15. Councilperson Popejoy, please.
Resolution 2014-15, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana regarding amendment of heads of department. Mayor Franklin, I call for a vote on Resolution 2014-15.
Second.
Resolution 2014-15 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on Resolution 2014-15.
Joe Buck,
Yes.
Bob Bishop,
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft,
Yes.
Gary Fox,
Yes.
Charlie Hastings,
Yes.
Chuck Liddell,
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy.
Yes.
Resolution 2014-15 passes on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Resolution 2014-16. Councilman Buck, please.
Resolution 2014-16, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving that existing drug investigation fund monies located in the general fund by the Logansport Police Department budget may be used by the Logansport Police Department Special Investigations Division as needed for illegal narcotics purchases. Your Honor, I call for a vote on 2014-16.
Second.
Resolution 2014-16 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on Resolution 2014-16.
Teresa Popejoy,
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft,
Yes.
Chuck Liddell,
Yes.
Bob Bishop,
Yes.
Charlie Hastings,
Yes.
Joe Buck,
Yes.
Gary Fox.
Yes.
Resolution 2014-16 passes on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Resolution 2014-18. Councilperson Ashcraft, please.
Resolution 2014-18, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport requesting a proposal for application to OKRA Master Planning Grant, Parks Department. Your Honor, I call for a vote on Resolution 2014-18.
Second.
Resolution 2014-18 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote on Resolution 2014-18.
Jeremy Ashcraft,
Yes.
Bob Bishop,
Yes.
Joe Buck,
Yes.
Gary Fox.
Yes.
Charlie Hastings.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell.
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy.
Yes.
Resolution 2014-18 passes on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Resolution 2014-20. Councilman Fox, please.
Resolution 2014-20, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport to enter into an agreement with Trans World Systems. I motion for Resolution 2014-20.
Second.
Resolution 2014-20 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Franklin, I'd like to just point out a couple of things about this. I was involved in the initial discussion regarding this. The City of Logansport has a large number of claims that have been filed against individuals for fines that aren't being paid. These have been turned over to the auditor's office and assessments have been put on property taxes. However, individuals have a tendency to ignore those because there are no real repercussions from that. As an example of this, in 2012, the City of Logansport had $60,557.13 in fines unpaid, representing 92 different assessments. So only 17 of those were paid, and we still have $55,631.04 outstanding. In 2013, because the city became more aggressive on the demolition of properties and was doing that on their own, there was an assessment of $356,232.65. 95 properties represented there, and there were 0 collections in 2013. $240,869 of that $356,000 was for the demolition of those properties. In addition, the police department has fines that are assessed, parking fees or whatever the case is. At this, the information that we were provided, they have 38 fines out there at this point in time that they can account for. They have others that go back further, but that's what they have, totaling $760,000. As we entered into discussion about how to collect this money and the ramifications of this, We talked to 3 different vendors in regard to this, and this vendor provided the best service we felt for the least cost to the city of Logansport. The cost for this will be approximately $10 for each property for each month until we receive the full payment for that. There is no timeline on the contract that we would have with this group on the collections, and so we felt that we would give them 6 months to see if they enhance our collections on this or not. One of the things that I found really interesting in our discussions was that when individuals think their credit history is going to be trashed, they're a little more prone to paying their fines and things. And so we're going to try it, because obviously we have about $400,000 worth of uncollected fines out there that need to be collected, and it's in the city's best interest to collect those. This creates responsibility for those that have incurred the expense to make that payment, and maybe it will also decrease some of the unnecessary mowing, trash collections, and things that we have to do. So I would encourage that we approve this.
I'd like to second that.
You could have said that a lot shorter, you know.
Is there any more discussion? I also would like to reiterate what Teresa said, and I want to thank Teresa and Carol Sue for their hard work. They're the ones that really developed this and did the research and brought the options forward. There's been several council meetings held, committee meetings, where this was discussed, and I appreciate your efforts and to be commended. Call for a vote on Resolution 2014-20.
Jeremy Ashcraft?
Yes.
Bob Bishop?
Yes.
Joe Buck?
Yes.
Gary Fox?
Yes.
Charlie Hastings?
Yes.
Chuck Liddell?
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy?
Yes.
Resolution 2014-20 passes on a vote of 7 in favor and 0 opposed. Ordinance 2014-14. I think it's Councilman Liddell's turn.
Ordinance 2014-14, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana regarding polygraph testing for the police and fire departments. Your Honor, I call for a first vote on Ordinance 2014-14.
Second.
Ordinance 2014-14 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on Ordinance 2014-14.
Teresa Popejoy?
Yes.
Chuck Liddell?
Yes.
Charlie Hastings?
Yes.
Gary Fox?
Yes.
Joe Buck?
Yes.
Bob Bishop?
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft?
Yes.
Ordinance 2014-14 passes on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Ordinance 2014-15. Councilman Bishop, please.
Ordinance 2014-15 for the rezoning of the 1400 West Market Street, Logansport, Indiana. Your Honor, I call for a first vote on 2014-15.
Second.
Ordinance 2014-15 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, I make a motion to amend Ordinance 2014-15. There's a blank in 5th whereas about the Plan Commission's vote, and in reading Resolution 1408 from the Plan Commission, it does appear that they gave a favorable recommendation. So I vote to amend and fill in the blank with favorable.
Second.
You're right. And Planning Director Aaron Shaver is in the back of the room if you have any questions, but I think everybody acknowledges it came forward with a favorable recommendation.
Yeah, it's marked here. We have the paper.
Can we take that amendment by consent? Meaning, is there anyone opposed? Everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Properly amended.
It's properly amended. Okay, then, Ordinance 2014-15 in its entirety.
Charlie Hastings?
Yes.
Chuck Liddell?
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy?
Yes.
Gary Fox?
Yes.
Joe Buck?
Yes.
Bob Bishop?
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft?
Yes.
Ordinance 2014-15 passes on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Ordinance 2014-16. Councilman Hastings, please.
Ordinance 2014-16, addition to the Logansport and fringe zoning ordinance requiring a developmental plan for economic hardship with redevelopment and development in the East End planning area. Your Honor, I call for a first vote on ordinance 2014-16.
Second.
Ordinance 2014-16 has been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote on ordinance 2014-16.
Gary Fox.
Yes.
Charlie Hastings.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell.
Yes.
Teresa Popejoy.
Yes.
Jeremy Ashcraft.
Yes.
Bob Bishop.
Yes.
Joe Buck.
Yes.
Ordinance 2014-16 has been approved on first reading on a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Are there any board member comments?
Your Honor, I have a couple of comments. Number one, I just want to reiterate what we made official tonight. That young group of young ladies that represented Logansport High School are a phenomenal group that will probably never be repeated as far as the quality of the content of all of those young ladies' character. And, you know, not to downplay what they accomplished as a team, but that, you know, Miss Whitney Jennings was indeed Indiana Miss Basketball. Is just, you know, in Indiana, that's an incredible honor. And so I just want to, you know, reiterate how proud I am that we, the city, recognize what a great talented group of young ladies that we have in our community. I also want to recognize Mr. Dan Williams in the street department. I had the pleasure of taking down, 40 years of shrubbery around my house the last 2 weeks, and when I had the fortress built in front of my house, I called Dan, and within a day they were all gone and cleaned up and like they've never been there. So thank you, Dan, and tell your men thanks for a quick, nice job. I appreciate it.
Okay. Is there any other board member comments? Okay. A couple of other things. On the evening of May 16th, there will be an open house at the Berry Bowl, and that's to honor Whitney Jennings for her accomplishments as 2014 Indiana Miss Basketball. I apologize, I don't have the time. I can just tell you it's in the evening of the 16th. And then also, council, you're already aware of this, but we'll go on the record right now as saying June 16th, we will conduct a special session of the Logansport City Council to be held at 5 p.m. on June 16th. Under miscellaneous business, including matters not already considered, I'd like to address a few of the concerns that were raised here earlier today. I want to remind council that you authorized the mayor to negotiate. You didn't authorize the mayor to enter into any kind of an agreement. That right is reserved, that responsibility is reserved for you and the Utility Service Board. Don't shoot the messenger. It's the message that you get a vote on. How foolish would it be for us to apply for membership to MISO? We don't even know if we're going to be required to be MISO members. We're not technically generators. We will cease being electric generators on December 31st, 2015. Why would we subject ourselves to a $250,000 application fee to do that, only to be criticized for wasting money the next time around, next month? It makes absolutely no sense to do this. We're very aware of what we're doing. Not everybody's going to like it, but we are aware of what we're doing. There is a plan, and not everybody's going to like that either. As for entering into a long-term agreement, we're talking about a 25-year agreement here. You're going to get to decide that between now and June 16th. You all have the power purchase agreement before you. You have all the information. I would ask you to look at the charts and graphs over here on the wall. There's no better deal out there. You know it. I know it. All of this opposition has nothing to do with how much money we spent, which, by the way, comes back to us. All $1.75 million comes back to us. This is about something other than what it's presented as. Escalator clauses in a purchase power agreement don't require the rate to go up. Just because our rate goes up at a mere 2.3% doesn't mean we automatically pass that rate on to our customers. We have that every month right now. Less than a year ago, we were at 6 cents with Duke. 6 cents per kilowatt. The first 3 months of 2014, we were at 7.55 cents per kilowatt, which is still cheaper than IMPA. But have any of you considered a rate increase for your electric rates? Not since I've been mayor. I think it's been 10 years at least. Just because there's a fluctuation in one of these determining factors doesn't immediately mean that we run back to you and ask for a rate increase. Those things are built in. They're allowed by the IURC, of which we're not even a member, but those things correct themselves. It's the market. That's the way things go. It's funny that we'd be criticized for a trip to Germany, some of us. But it was just a short year ago that we were being criticized because we hadn't seen the technology. We were told that it didn't exist. For those of us that went, we saw it. We witnessed firsthand. So you're never going to make everybody happy. I would ask council to continue doing what you're doing. That's allowing Logansport to move forward. This is bigger than any one person. This is bigger than any mayor or any city council or any utility service board. This is big. Everybody knows it's big. It's scary big. That's how big it is. But the upside is so great that we would be fools not to investigate it. And lastly, I would also advise council that just last Friday morning, some of you were there, we finally had our day in court when we got to describe our frivolous lawsuit and how much money we've had to waste doing that. You didn't hear a word of that tonight about how much money we've had to waste defending the frivolous lawsuit. But our day in court was last Friday, and we'll have our ruling very soon. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned.